What happens when America's sweetheart Kelly Clarkson ends up in the most uncomfortable interview of her career? What began as a routine morning show appearance quickly spiraled into pure television chaos, leaving viewers shocked and studio executives scrambling behind the scenes. This is the story of how one seemingly harmless question about her personal life led to a confrontation so intense that Kelly Clarkson actually walked off the Today Show set, leaving Melvin speechless and the production team in total panic. If you want to see how this explosive situation unfolded from beginning to end, make sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments what you think really caused Kelly to finally snap. The morning started like any other inside the NBC studios in New York City. Kelly Clarkson, coming off another successful season of her daytime talk show, was scheduled for what everyone thought would be a straightforward promotional interview with Melvin on the Today Show. She was there to talk about her new album, upcoming tour dates, and her continued success as a television host. The vibe in the studio was cheerful, with crew members chatting casually while preparing for what they assumed would be just another upbeat, feel-good segment. Kelly walked in with a smile, greeting the staff warmly and chatting with makeup artists and assistants. She had always been known for her approachable, down-to-earth personality and for making genuine connections with the people working behind the cameras. Melvin, equally professional, had his talking points ready and appeared excited to talk with one of the most beloved entertainers in the country. When they finally sat down on the familiar Today Show set, the bright lights came on and cameras started rolling. It was supposed to be a simple, light-hearted 8-minute segment. The first few minutes went smoothly, exactly as expected. Creig opened with his trademark friendly welcome, introducing Kelly with enthusiasm and highlighting her most recent accomplishments. "Kelly, it's always such a joy to have you here," he said with a smile. "You've been doing so well with your talk show, and now you've got this brand new album. Tell us about the inspiration behind these songs." Kelly's eyes lit up and she leaned forward, excited to talk about her music. She explained her creative process, how personal experiences had shaped her writing, and how this album reflected a new chapter in her artistic journey. She talked with energy about working with different songwriters and how meaningful the songs were to her at this point in her life. The exchange was easy, natural, and comfortable, just like viewers would expect. "This album really captures where I'm at right now," Kelly said, gesturing with her hands. "I wanted to be honest about my experiences, both the good parts and the struggles. Music has always been my way of working through things." Creig nodded along, asking follow-up questions about certain tracks and her upcoming tour dates. The interview felt relaxed. Kelly laughed at his jokes and gave thoughtful answers about her career and future projects. Everything seemed completely fine. Then Creig leaned forward and asked, "Now I've got to ask you, your fans are always curious about your personal life. You've been pretty open about your divorce and how that affected you. How are you handling things now? Are you seeing anyone special?" It sounded like an ordinary enough question, the kind celebrities often get in these interviews. Kelly smiled, but something in her expression shifted just slightly. She paused longer than usual before answering. "You know, Creig, I'm in a good place right now," she said warmly, but with a subtle edge. "I'm focused on my kids, on my career, and just taking life one day at a time. That's really the healthiest way for me to go about it right now." Creig either didn't notice her change in tone or decided to push anyway. "That's great to hear," he said. "But there have been rumors recently about you and someone in particular. Any truth to those?" Kelly's smile faltered and her face tightened just a bit. "I prefer to keep my private life private, Creig. I think my fans understand and respect that." Her answer was polite but clear. Most hosts would have taken that hint and moved on. Creig, though, pushed again. "I get that, I really do. But your fans care about you and want to see you happy. Could you give us just a little hint about what makes Kelly Clarkson happy these days outside of work?" Kelly's jaw stiffened as her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The cameras caught the subtle shift in her body language. At home, casual viewers might not have realized she was starting to get frustrated, but people in the studio definitely sensed it. "What makes me happy?" Kelly repeated, her voice cool now. "It's being able to come on shows like this and talk about my music and my career without every part of my personal life being turned into entertainment." The air in the studio grew heavy, Crew members exchanged nervous glances, realizing this interview was heading in a direction no one had expected. Creig, though, pressed on. "Kelly, I think you're maybe reading too much into this," he said with an awkward laugh. "We're just having a friendly chat. Your fans care about you as a person, not just as a singer or host." Kelly's eyes flashed with irritation, though she stayed composed. "And I appreciate that support, Creig, I really do. But caring about someone doesn't give them the right to every detail of their private life." The back and forth was growing tense. Creig, however, kept going. "I'm not asking for every detail," he insisted. "These are just the kind of questions any celebrity would expect in an interview. It's part of what comes with being in the spotlight." Kelly's face flushed slightly. Her reply came sharper than viewers were used to hearing from her. "What I signed up for was to promote my music and talk about my work. I didn't sign up to justify my personal choices or provide gossip fodder." The once friendly vibe was gone. Creig looked surprised by her firmness, but he didn't stop. "Kelly, you sound a little defensive." "I'm not trying to invade your privacy. I'm just doing my job, asking what people want to know. You've shared a lot in the past, so I don't get why this is off limits now." Kelly's patience was visibly cracking. She gripped the arms of her chair, her voice sharp. "There's a difference between choosing to share my struggles when I want to and being pressured to reveal things I'm not ready to discuss. I thought you'd understand that." "Still," Creig pressed on, "look, I respect your privacy. But you have to admit, when you've built a brand on being open and relatable, people are naturally curious about your life." Kelly's voice dropped, calm but dangerous. "So because I make space for my guests to open up on my show, that means I've given up my right to privacy?" "That's what you're suggesting, Creig?" Creig faltered, clearly flustered. "That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying people are interested because of how authentic you've been." Kelly leaned forward. "My brand is built on honesty when I choose to share. It's built on respect and real connection. It's not built on feeding people's curiosity just for entertainment." The tension in the studio was now overwhelming. Producers whispered urgently into headsets, trying to decide what to do. Creig, realizing he was in trouble, said, "I just think when you react like this, people are going to wonder what you're trying to hide." The words hit like a slap. Kelly's face reddened, and her reply came with quiet fury. "Hide? Creig, what I'm trying to do is give my children some normalcy. I want relationships that aren't torn apart by gossip. I want to be a human being who happens to be famous, not a famous person who's lost the right to be human." Creig shifted, finally aware he'd crossed a line. "Kelly, I didn't mean to—" "No, let me finish," Kelly cut in, her voice rising. "You want to know what I'm hiding? I hide the fact that I sometimes cry in my car after interviews like this because I feel like I can't win. If I share too much, I get accused of oversharing. If I hold back, I get called secretive. I hide the fact that my kids ask me why strangers think they can comment on our lives. I hide the fact that sometimes I wonder if this career is worth it when I have to fight for the basic right to privacy." The studio fell into stunned silence. Crew members looked uncomfortable, realizing this had turned into something deeply personal. Kelly continued, her voice shaking but strong. "You have a family, Creig. Would you want every detail of your private life analyzed and judged by millions?" Creig tried to respond, but Kelly kept going. "And you know what else? I'm hiding my disappointment in you. I respected you. I thought you knew the difference between journalism and gossip. But today, you showed me you don't." The room was silent except for the faint hum of equipment. Creig looked shaken, clearly realizing the damage he'd done. "Kelly, maybe I misunderstood," he began. "No, Creig," she said coldly. "You understood. You just cared more about making good television than about decency." She looked into the camera, then back at him. "Well, congratulations. You got your moment." Creig's face went pale. "Kelly, I never meant—" "Your intentions don't erase the impact," she snapped. "And what you did today showed me you're willing to make guests uncomfortable for the sake of content." The weight of her words crushed the room. Kelly stood up. "This interview is over." Creig panicked. "Please, Kelly, we can start over." "You can't reset this like a computer," she said firmly. "You can't undo how you made me feel." Desperate, Creig tried again. "I might have pushed too hard, but that's journalism. Sometimes you have to ask the hard questions." Kelly let out a bitter laugh. "Hard questions? About who I'm dating?" That's not journalism, Creig. That's gossip for ratings. The crew froze, watching history unfold. Kelly unpinned her microphone, saying, "There's a difference between real connection and exploitation. And you clearly don't see it." Creig stood, panicked. "Kelly, this is TV. You're being dramatic. We ask questions, people answer, and we move on." Kelly looked at him with sheer disappointment. "Not a crime, Creig, but it was a betrayal of trust. You proved your agenda mattered more than my dignity." She placed the mic on her chair and looked around the studio. "And the saddest part? I actually enjoy interviews. I love talking about my work. But moments like this make me want to retreat, build walls, and stop sharing." Her voice softened but stayed firm. "Creig, this isn't just about one bad interview. It's about a culture that thinks fame means surrendering your privacy." She began walking off the set. Creig followed, asking helplessly, "What do I tell the viewers?" Kelly stopped and turned. "Tell them the truth. Tell them you pushed me past my limit for the sake of a headline. Tell them that when you don't respect people's boundaries, sometimes they walk away. Tell them being famous doesn't mean being available every second. Tell them celebrities are human beings with real families and real struggles." Her voice grew stronger. "And tell them I hope this reminds everyone that the people they watch aren't characters in a show. They're real." With that, Kelly Clarkson walked off the Today Show set, leaving Melvin standing frozen under the studio lights, surrounded by stunned crew members. The cameras kept rolling, capturing Creig's visible distress as he tried to process what had just happened. The silence was overwhelming, broken only by the hum of the equipment. Creig looked into the camera, clearly realizing nothing would ever be quite the same again. "So what do you think finally made Kelly reach her breaking point? Was it Creig's persistence, his dismissive attitude, or something deeper about how celebrities are treated in today's culture? Subscribe for more stories like this, and let me know in the comments what you think was the real breaking point in this unforgettable confrontation.